Most monster movies are just a big version of an animal you already know. You got King Kong with a giant gorilla, the Meg with a big shark, and then there's Pacific Rim, where monsters feel like something that actually crawled out of somewhere real, even when not one of them exists. I hope, anyway. That's a weirdly hard thing to pull off. So how did they do it? Explore it with me by looking at these for a sec. I'm gonna mark 5 things on screen. Don't overthink it, just keep it in mind. We'll come back for them. Now, watch the 1998 Godzilla. Just look at it for a little bit. It's a big iguana that runs away from the army, burrows under the city to hide, lays a couple hundred eggs, kind of like a salmon, and then gets put down by some missiles off a bridge. The fans were so embarrassed that they gave it its own name so it wouldn't count as the real one. Gino, or Gino? I don't know how to pronounce that. It stands for Godzilla in name only. And we all know you don't rename something you respect. And its design is not even badly made. It moves fine. There's just no animal under there. It's a shape that runs and dies. Most giant monsters are like that. Somebody builds them to look cool in one shot, and, well, that's the extent of how much they think about it. The thing in Cloverfield? The big ones in 2014 Godzilla? People really mix them up. Same few shapes wearing different skins. Just big angry triangles with legs. Now, by rights, Pacific Rim should be the worst offender of the lot. It's got more monsters than most of these films. They're on screen for less time, and they're almost always shot in pouring rain at night, where you can barely make them out. By just that alone, they should all blur into one forgettable smudge. They don't, though. And those 5 marks are the reason why. So let's go get the first one, which was the axe blade head. The rule behind it is dead simple. Every monster in this film has to be its own species, not a color swap or the same body with a fresh paint job. You should be able to tell them apart from shape alone in the dark from the back, right? The way they got there is pretty interesting, or at least I thought it was pretty interesting. The design team drew something like 40 different monsters. Then Del Toro ran the whole thing like a talent show. Everyone votes. The weakest designs get cut, vote again, cut again, on and on until only 9 are left standing. So every kaiju that had made it into the film had already beaten out 3 or 4 others just to be there. So what does all that voting actually get you sitting there watching? It means every monster that survived got boiled down to one clear idea. Nothing vague or half-formed made the cut. So on screen, you always knew exactly which creature you're looking at, even when 2 of them are tangled together in the rain and the dark. The one with a blade for a head? Well, that's Knifehead. There's nothing else in the film shaped remotely like him, so your eye grabs onto him the second he turns up, and you never lose him in the chaos. Drop him in a lineup with the rest, and a 5-year-old could point him out. That's marker 1. The second and third marker are actually connected. They were the gorilla shoulders and the hammerhead skull. Every single one of these monsters is built out of real animals. We talked a little about this the last time with the Jaegers. They got their whole shipyard and welded steel thing, also relating to the country of origin. On the monster side, though, it runs deeper. Del Toro handed his designers another set of rules. 3 families, not more than that. Crustaceans, reptiles, insects, and one big ban. Nothing furry, no big huggable creature with a sweet little face. No, none of that. On top of that, he wouldn't let them look at other monster movies for ideas, the same way he didn't let them watch any giant robot films for the Jaegers. So no Godzilla. Yeah, nothing from the genre. He pointed them at nature documentaries and old naturalist sketches instead. 19th century drawings of whales and rhinos. There's even a Goya painting he kept coming back to. The Colossus, this giant figure looming over a tiny landscape. That was the feeling he was chasing. Real weight, real anatomy, blown up to a size that it's got no business existing at. You could say Leatherback is just a gorilla in some way, but still different from King Kong. Like, really, look at him. All arms and shoulders, knuckles to the ground, built to leap on things. That's marker 2. And Slattern's whole face is a hammerhead shark. That flat, wide skull with the eyes shoved right out to the edges. Marker 3. Which brings us to marker 4, the wings. That's Otachi, the show-off of the lot. A bit of dragon, maybe a little dinosaur in there, a throat that swells up like a frog about to spit acid, tail with the grip at the end, and a pair of wings she doesn't even show you until the second she needs it. She's like 4 or 5 real animals stitched into one thing that shouldn't work, but it absolutely does. So that's 4 of your 5 marks gone. Every monster its own species, every one of them built from stuff that actually lives on this planet. Which leaves the 5th marker, the blue light. Well, we marked it last for a reason. poison. Every kaiju's got it. Cold blue light running under the skin, up through the mouth, down the spine. It's the exact same blue on all of them. And no, it's not just some light in the rain or the dark or whatever. It does way more than that. It tells you these things are all alive the same way, all crawling out of the same hole in the floor of the Pacific, being part of some kind of family. And the glow is just the surface of it as it goes past the skin and into their veins. When you cut a kaiju open, it bleeds, and what comes out is a full-on disaster. They call it kaiju blue. It's ammonia, it's toxic, and it's corrosive enough to eat through metal and concrete. So when one of these things dies in a city, the blood vaporizes into the air and turns whole districts into poison zones nobody can live in for years. You lose your neighborhood twice, once when it walks through, and again to the stuff leaking out of it. Watch the Hong Kong fight. Gypsy Danger pulls out a chainsword and opens Otachi up, and the blue comes pouring out, hissing and smoking where it hits the ground. That's an animal with a wrong kind of blood, and the film treats that like a hazmat problem because realistically, that's exactly what that'd be. And they're taking a beating like real bodies too. They stagger when they're hit, they lose limbs and keep going with what's left. They get tired. I mean, Leatherback goes down swinging, and Otachi gets torn apart in the sky. You wince a little watching it because, I don't know, but you're not supposed to do that for a monster. The film even ranks them. There's a whole scale for it. Every kaiju gets a category, 1 to 5, based on its size, how much water it shoves out of the way coming through, how toxic it is, and category 1 is bad. Category 5 is the end of the world. And for most of the film, 5 is just a number, sitting there, theoretical, until right at the very end when Slattern shows up. The only category 5 in the movie. You've spent 2 hours learning what these things do at 3 and 4, so the second someone says 5, your stomach drops before it's done anything. Nobody has to explain it to you because the scale already did the work. So add it all up. Every monster, its own species, built from real animals, glowing with the same blood, bleeding the same poison, ranked on the same scale. A whole living system thought through right down to what's in the veins. They absolutely nailed it. And then about 5 years later, the same franchise looked at all of that and went, nah, if we can even call it the same franchise. I mean, okay, I'm not recycling those jokes again. But what did the sequel do? Pacific Rim Uprising came out in 2018 with a new idea about what these monsters were even for. Because, well, new director, new writers, the whole ordeal. And to be fair, it doesn't start as rough as you'd expect on the kaiju side. The film's got 3 new kaiju, Raijin, Hakuja, and Shrike-Thor. And they're actually designed properly. 3 distinct shapes, 3 different animals, exactly the rule the first film laid down. And for a bit, you sit there thinking, okay, they get it, we're fine. Now here comes my hot take, which I don't know if you agree with it, but they did the single dumbest thing they could possibly do. They took those 3 monsters and mashed them into one. They fuse into a thing called the Mega Kaiju. And that's about as bad as it sounds. 3 separate creatures crushed into one body. 10 eyes, 5 down each side the head, 6 legs, a couple of spiked tails. And everything the first film built falls over with that one move. Remember Marker 1? Every monster has its own species? Well, they just welded 3 species into one lump. And remember about reading a silhouette from the back in the dark? Yeah, good luck. It's a big knot of arms and eyes you couldn't draw if someone paid you. The first film made monsters that felt like animals. This one built like a final boss or something, the kind of thing a video game throws at you at the last level, health bar and all. Nothing about it says it ever even crawled out of an ocean. Somehow, making the monster 3 times bigger managed to make it about a 10th as scary. And I mean, yeah, the whole film is kind of like that. Faster and shinier, the monsters and the robots both bouncing around like someone switched weight off. The first one understood that a giant monster only worked if you believe it's a real, heavy, living thing, but Uprising didn't. And once you stop buying the monster, the city it's wrecking stops mattering too. You're just watching shapes bump into each other in the daylight. So that's the price. You can see exactly what the first film got right by watching the sequel get every part of it wrong, which leaves one thing, and it's the part most people walk straight past unless you've watched my previous video. It's about the parallel between Jaegers and kaiju. Go back to what we marked before. Every monster monster has its own species distinguishable from a glance. Everyone was built out of real animals blown up to well beyond where they belong, and everyone had a body that bled, staggered, and got tired. Now think about the robots from last time. Every Jaeger, its own machine, same deal, built out of real shipyard stuff, steel and boilers and welded plate, scaled up the same way, the same kind of body that loses an arm and just keeps swinging. It's one design idea run twice, and they meet in the middle. Two massive bodies made out of real-world parts, trading hits in the rain while you sit there believing every second of it. What the film built was a world where a giant monster and a giant machine run on the same logic, so the moment they collide, no part of your brain is fighting it. You're just in it. We took the robot half of this apart in the last video, and if you haven't watched that yet, it's got another interesting angle in it. So click here to watch it.